Hi there, welcome to this video series on tactical edge weapons. In it we're going to look at a few of the edge weapons that I consider to be the most significant, both fixed blades and folders. Hope you enjoy. I'm going to talk a little bit about the development of the Kasper folding fighter. It came from an original design that Bob did, which was a big 6-inch fixed blade double-edged knife. It was quickly chopped down and a 5-inch model was made, and then at the request of a special team that he was training, they wanted a knife that had a 4-inch blade, so it was legally acceptable in certain areas, single-edged, and that's when the companion was produced. 4-inch blade, single-edged, and but with the same design features of the larger knives. And I'll just go over what those features were. The blade first is what's known as a Persian profile. It's got a deep belly for slashing and an aggressive point. It's almost a Bowie type point. It's very sharp and very penetrating. The blade is rather broad. It's got a high aspect ratio, and this really helps in high impact training. You've got choices on the blade, either plain edge or partially serrated. Although a plain edge is without a doubt the best for cutting flesh, serrations are great if you need to defeat clothing or other barrier materials, so I prefer the partially serrated model. At the end of the blade is this here, which is like a half guard. It helps to stop your hand running up on the blade. Now, a lot of knife designers concentrate on the blade and not so much on the handle of the knife. Or Bob, realizing that the handle is the interface between the knife, the weapon, and the user, and with his experience as a top instructor, he put just as much thought into the handle design. The first thing you notice is this rather deep cutout here, which then goes into this sub hilt, and this locks the index finger into position. So fore and aft movement is restricted here by the sub hilt and by the half guard. And what this means is if that you thrust the knife into someone's torso, and quite often you get an instant drop if you do that, and you've suddenly got up to 200 pounds on the end of your knife, and it's very easy for it to be dislodged from the hand. So you want this as much gripping power as possible here. And similarly, if you thrust the knife into bone or into muscle which convulses on the knife, and you're trying to withdraw it, you want this to give you leverage to withdraw the knife as well. You then have a similar effect from this finger abating on that side of the sub hilt. It provides traction. You then have the straight bar, which is for the fingers to grip, and then you have this, which is called a pinky hook, pinky being the American word for the little finger. The purpose of the pinky hook is to aid in the draw of the knife, and it makes it a very easy knife to draw. Your hand comes up, and in a very natural, easy motion, the pinky acquires the pinky hook, and that's the start of the draw. You then have this part here is a pommel, and it gives you pommel strikes if you need it. You then have a sloping back strap, which helps to align the knife for the thrust. You then have, I don't know if you can see it clearly, but this palm swell locks the knife into the hand there. And then on the top of the blade here, serrations. The reason for this was originally Bob taught the Steyer's technique of the saber grip, and that was to locate the thumb for the saber grip. And it's a very nice way to use the knife, as Fairbairn says to use a knife, or Sykes said to use a knife as an artist uses his paintbrush. Later on he changed to the full grip, because he found that the saber grip, you have this open channel here, and the knife can be disarmed through it. So he changed, and it takes a lot for an instructor to publicly change a strongly held position, but because he was a very honest guy, he did that, and he changed to the forward grip. So that was the companion, the 4-inch knife. The companion then became the folder. Basically the same knife, there's just a couple of additions. One, there's a more of an index point there, and you've got a clip. Obviously there's no palm swell because it doesn't really work with the folder, but the clip, funny enough, becomes a kind of a palm swell. And basically that's it. The companion folded into the Crawford Casper as later made by Columbia River, and you have the opening device is a stud, which is very, very positive. It's probably the best one on any of the folders, and it's a really good knife. Excellent. The draw from the pocket with the Casper folder, and the technique is to bring it to an index position, and you're ready to go. Breaking that down into its parts, you access the knife, get a good thumb behind it, fingers on the clip, bring it out and rotate it to the index position, high on the pectoral. It's the common position, the same position we use for pistol shooting. You then flick the knife open, activate the lock here, at the same time roll the knife into the full grip, thumb lock down, high pec position, and you're ready to go. That's the draw from the pocket. We're now going to look at the draw from the belt, which is what I actually prefer. As you'll notice, you can actually see very little of the knife. You can just see a little bit of the clip protruding here. If you wear darker clothes, you don't even see that. The problem is trying to dig it out using this pinching action here is not a good idea. So the technique I like is to grab the whole clothing and just bring everything up so you get this much of the knife protruding, enough to give you a good grip. Grip that, bring it again to the high pec position, or crouch a bit so you can see where that's supposed to be. Pop it out as we do and rotate it into its proper grip. So I have a problem with the knife in the pocket. I've found it, especially in vehicles, it tends to fall out, so I prefer to have the knife behind the belt if I'm using a. We're going to look at that same technique from a slightly different angle and at normal working speed. The idea is really not to go for all out speed, but more to go for smoothness. Smoothness is 5/6 of speed. Speed's 5/6 smoothness. Okay, and what you want is a reproducible technique that you can do again and again without a problem, rather than going all out. This technique from under the belt's never going to be blindingly fast, so I like to go for consistency and smoothness, particularly if you're doing an in-fight access where it's going to be under stress. You're using your offhand to fend somebody away. So that's the important thing. To get a good initial grip, rotate it out, pop it out, and lock it.